Welcome to Fire and Water, the podcast, coming of age in this age, where we seek to cultivate wise leaders one show at a time by connecting with today's elders. I am your host, Juanita Robertson. Welcome to Fire and Water, the podcast, and I'm here today with Madge, Bray, and I am so excited, oh my gosh, because we've been yakking already, and I'm like, we have to turn on the recording that you all get to have some of this deliciousness. And, you know, Madge Bray, she's from Scotland, and she's a singer from a long tradition of singers, poets, musicians. She also is internationally known for her work around trauma resolution and especially with children. And I just met her about a year ago. Actually, it was last year. It seems like we've known each other forever, but it was last year when we were in the grandmother march that we did together. And I just was like, oh, I have to know this woman. Like, you know, there you're talking a lot about the keening, but you're doing a lot of other things. And Fire and Water podcast is set up to like bring elders to, you know, to capture some of the elders' voices. Because I think it's so important. I think one of the things that we have lost the understanding is the importance of elders. You know, I think we confuse teachers and guides with elders.
Yes.
You know, because elders are often teachers and guides. And I just want to welcome you to the space, and it's open for us to have a conversation, and they get to eavesdrop. So
okay, how good is that? Just you ask the questions, and I'll go with the flow.
So one of the things, you know, let's just share a little bit. You're sharing with me about what you're up to these days.
Right. Well, I'm up to two kinds of interesting things. In our country, I live in Scotland, and, you know, we're quite a forward-looking little group of people. And there's quite a lot of very interesting energy in Scotland, which is about innovation and about compassion. And so our Scots government, which is we're the only part of the UK that has this, we have baby boxes. So every child that gets born in our country gets a baby box, and it's a big enough box to sleep in if you haven't got a bed.
Yes.
And it's got diapers and lovely baby grows and a whole lot of other things in it that aid the transition into life. And I think it's just inspired.
Yeah.
And there's the beginning of life and there's the ending of life. So we actually also need something to mark that. And that needs to be, in my humble opinion, a grief transition box for those left behind who are mourning, because we've lost our connection to mourning.
Yes.
In our country. We've lost 15 minutes in the crematorium doesn't cut it.
Yeah. You know, one of the things about that grief piece I said is, what better gift in a pandemic to give to a culture that has forgotten how to grieve?
Exactly. To forget how to grieve means that the emotional health of our people is impacted in hideous ways. And intergenerational trauma is a huge issue, and we're living it. We're living it absolutely right now, and your country's living it massively.
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, we're living it too, but we created what your country's living here because we gave, you know, our intergenerationally, our friend Mr. Trump is actually a Scots piece of Scots progeny and German progeny, I think. That's his story. Anyway, so I've been very, very interested in trying to reclaim our cultural inheritance and our grief tending cultural inheritance. And it was the work of the women to grief tend. But in the 1642, we lost that right. We lost that capacity because the church passed a synod of Argyll here passed a proclamation that said that keening, the ancient ritual sounds of grieving that women used to do when they went to funerals, they would hold an energetic space for the transformation of grief, if you like. The
Yeah.
witnessing, the sharing, the turning private pain into communal mourning, and
Hmm.
the release of the soul in that process. And it was all a process. And we lost it in 1642. Women started not being able to do it. The clan chiefs they always had their keening women, but the women lost their role. And in my humble opinion, that role, there was a transition period when our bagpiping schools were at their zenith, and the school these were places where the young clan um the young the sons and the sons, not the daughters, the sons of the nobility would go and learn how to play the pibroch. And the pibroch it means pipes, but it was the finest form of our traditional music. It was, it took you 10 years to learn the pibroch on the Scots bagpipes. And you learnt it, and it was highly skilled and exquisite music.
Yeah.
But it was the music of the people. And so you would learn this, and in amongst there were pibrochs for battle, for summoning the troops for battle. There were pibrochs for saluting the clan chief, and there were pibrochs that were lamentations. And so I got in amongst the pibrochs that were lamentations because those were musically those were the highest form of our music, and I could feel the energy of them. They were profound, but always the province of men. Men, up until 1970s, men were the only people that could play this. Women weren't playing them.
Yeah.
But during the 1600s, the men, the sensitive men, the visionary men, the men who had the highest, were vibrating at the highest frequency, they took the sounds of the women's mourning and they embroidered them into their pipe
Mm.
tunes. But they
Beautiful.
didn't do it. They didn't do it in a written way because the music was transmitted orally.
Yes.
So that's how it happened. So it's not written down. So they did it by chanting.
Mm.
And we have records of the chants. And there are chants that date back to
Oh,
the 1400s. So I got in amongst the chants. I found a master teacher, a man who's a master teacher and a master piper. And he'd been studying this and playing how they would have played because he's a scholar and a piper. And he's tried to turn around the colonial the colonial distortions that are now part of our ghastly let's all go and play the pipes and go to Scotland and walk about in kilts and stomp around and generally get judged.
yes.
Because this is not judgment music. This is soul food. This
Yes.
is our flow. This is our energetic flow. And it's our people's music, and it's not really for judgment. It's for sharing at a deep level. So I got stuck. I got not stuck. I got involved with him, and I learned from him hugely, and I'm still learning from
Mm.
him. Um, and so I want to now develop a tool for grieving.
Mm.
In the same way as we've got baby boxes, what we need is a tool that we can, 15 minutes in the crematorium is not the job.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can't do it. We can't do it. So we hold on to all of this intergenerational distress that we're not processing. And unless we do process our intergenerational distress, we end up throwing it into the next generation.
Yes.
So that's my work. I've now got a proposal together for the government. I've created a way in which we can work with all levels of grief, from the just I need a bit of comfort to the I want to wail and I want my wailing held and I need to wail. And then I also need to say thank you to life for the gift of it. So all of it is in this interesting thing that I'm doing. So that's one of my little things that I'm doing.
Beautiful.
And the other is at the other end of life. That's the end of life, the old age end of life sometimes, but not always. People die at all ages.
Hmm.
Um, the other thing that I'm doing mostly is that I'm a trustee of a charity, and it was born in the Highlands of Scotland, and it's based on psychosynthesis principles.
Hmm.
And we call it positive psychology because not everybody kind of gets that.
Yeah.
and we have to do mainstream work. So we facilitate people who have got the gift to do it, and they go out into schools, and the kids that we're interested in working with are the kids who are refusing school, getting into all sorts of things, the usual stuff. And these kids can opt to come on the program,
Mm.
and they come and they're mentored themselves. So they get mentored, these young people, 13 to 16-year-olds, who are kids who think they're going nowhere with nowhere to go, you know. And we take these kids and we mentor them, and then we take them, and this is the pure genius of it all, pure genius. We take them into uh, classes of nursery kids, 5-year-olds,
Mhm.
who themselves feel like they're going nowhere with nowhere to go. And we put them together and we give the older young people the job of mentoring.
Yes.
And there is just a combustion. It's the soul of our country. The spirit comes, and it's just awesome, the alchemy that takes place. And then we very carefully measure achievement. So we measure we measure
Yes.
feedback. So to correct statistics, and everybody just loves it. And
Yes.
as a result, that's the instrumental word, love. And then, what would love do? Ask yourself, what would love do? What would
Yes.
love do here?
I tell
Um,
my coaching clients that often. I always say,
yeah.
whenever you have a choice to make, you ask yourself the question, what would I be doing if I were loving myself? And the
Yes,
thing is, we always know the answer. We're not always capable of doing it,
that's
but we'll
it. Or
always know
even
the
getting to it,
answer.
or even finding it, but we
Yes.
need help to
Yes.
even find it.
Yes.
So then these kids go and they go in, they leave that program having empowered themselves and seen what they're capable of, and the seeds of human genius, and sell the whole lot of our greatness are born in those moments when they have these revelations. And then they go back into the community, and then they're tasked to sit down together and work out how they're going to bring that into the community.
Hmm. Yes.
And they do, but all comes from them. So they
Yeah.
work out what
Yeah.
they want to do. And they do awesome freaking things, just awesome. And you watch them, your mouth is open. People are in tears listening to them.
Yeah.
They're just on fire. And that's our gift to the future as elders. We
Yeah.
have to we have to empower that. We have to ignite it. Or not, there's always a flame, but we have to just fan it.
Yes. Yes. And get out of the way.
And get out of the way,
Yeah.
exactly. Get out of the
Yes.
way and just hold the space.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so that's what I've been involved in, and I've had in my life I've had some very amazingly interesting things to do. Um, and I got very interested when I was working with trauma. I understood from the sounds my kids were making in the playroom.
Mhm.
I understood that human harmony was manifest in sound. I could hear it. And I could hear their harmonization because I was born into music.
Yeah.
But I've never studied it. I can't read a note of music. I've
Uh-huh.
never ever had any of that. But I understand music because I've lived music.
Yes.
So when I got into there, I thought, who's writing about this? And nobody was. I couldn't find anything written about trauma and vibration and at the time, and music. It just didn't
Yeah.
exist. This is 20 odd years ago. It exists now, but it wasn't then, or 30 years ago. So I thought there's got to be indigenous wisdom. We're not writing it in the textbooks.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
so I thought, right, where is the place that I can understand harmony? And I trawled the world, and then I pitched up by mistake at something, and it was Georgian music. What? I thought I was going to be singing songs from the deep south.
Yeah.
Word on the water, word on the water, children. I thought, well, there's a bloody misprint in the brochure here because I'm not here to sing this music. I'm about to have a temper tantrum at the people that are doing this because I'm fed up. I've come here under false pretension. And then suddenly, I'm just sitting there, and these people start singing this particular music, and they tell me it's Georgian music. Think, oh my God, this is the music I'm meant to be studying. And not only that, but I know them all. I know all the music. I can sing it. It's not even hard because I know where it's going next. And it's
Yes.
complex polyphony. And I have no idea what it's called, but I know where they're going. And I have the best time because I've been there before because I think I've passed lives
Yeah.
definitely on the Silk Route. So I've heard it all before. So, and they're looking at me as if to say, how come you just been here and you never, Anyway, they were all experienced singers from the London Georgian Choir. I had no idea what that even was. I hadn't got a clue. So I didn't even know where the country was. I was purely, totally ignorant. I kind of had a half a clue. I thought it was kind of, somewhere it was one of the ex-Soviet countries, but that was my lot of understanding. Anyway, the next chapter of my life opened up, and I ended up in the High Caucasus Mountains, learning from the old song masters, who are the traditional keepers of harmony, and they're usually the spiritual teachers because they understand how harmony works.
Yeah. Yes.
So I pitched up there and learned because I can learn music because my parent I just learned music on my mother's breast, so I can do it through skin. If you know what
Yes.
I mean. I don't need
Yes.
to have dots or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
Once I hear it, I don't see it, I hear it. So that's
Yeah.
my first thing.
My
So
daughter's like that. She just, I mean, she remembers music, and she had this goal by the time she graduated high school to play at least two songs on 10 different instruments. So she plays over 10 different instruments, and
oh
she
my
just loves
God.
singing and,
Oh God, I just love,
yes.
and you're going to have lots of music in the house.
Yes, we had when they were growing up. It made me think about what we were talking about earlier, that we had these lullabies from around the world.
Oh
And
yeah,
we
I know
would
that.
play them every night, a different one for them going to sleep. It was so they got used to when they heard the
Ah,
music, they would go to sleep,
yeah, yeah,
And so
yeah.
it was always around. Yes.
Wowzer, wowzer, wowzer. Yeah, it's wonderful. We see that just gets into your whole energy field, and then music becomes part of your being.
Yes.
It's just wonderful. It's such a gift when parents do that to the children. It
Yeah.
truly, truly, truly is.
One of my
Truly is.
elders, Fanchan Shur, says that when we think terror is the biggest thing, art is
Yes.
always bigger.
Yes, art is always bigger.
Yes.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
So, there's lots moving in the world
Yes.
in this moment. What are some things that you think are important for people to know in this time? And, you know,
Um, what? Well, last night I was singing at a Burns supper,
Mhm.
and Robert Burns. Have you ever heard of Robert Burns? He's
No,
the.
I
Oh
haven't.
right, okay. He's our national poet,
Okay.
and he's probably the most. Apparently, I was hearing last night. He's the most celebrated poet worldwide that
Mm,
anybody else in the whole world. He's the most. There are Robert Burns, um, societies all over the world, and on his birthday we celebrate his birth.
okay. Yes.
And he wrote, well, you know the what shoot, Auld Lang Syne.
Yes.
Shoot, that's his.
Okay. I didn't.
Okay.
Yes.
And the spirit of this man is profound because he's influenced so much, and he was passionate into social justice.
Hmm.
He died. I don't know. I can't remember when he died. Very early 1800s, maybe. I can't remember exactly when he died, but I know he was still writing in 1780. But anyway, so he's got, there's songs like he might not know, A Fond Kiss, and Then We Sever. Have you heard that one? Or My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose That's Newly Sprung in June.
I've heard that one.
Right. Well, those are all his stuff. But no, some people don't know that those are his things. But
Yeah.
these are all his. And I went to a Burns supper, and he was passionate into social justice. And so I sang a song last night, which I've been studying recently because it's from this local area, and it's called Macpherson's Rant.
Mm.
Um, and I was using it to teach. And so you're asking me what I think is important. Last night, this was important because I wanted to not just stand up and sing a song to people.
Yeah.
I want them to see the innate wisdom in the song and connect with it and feel it. Now, a lot of the people that I was singing to were not Scots because I live quite close to the Findhorn Foundation.
Uh-huh.
And that's a very interesting place. If you've not come across it, it's worth Googling, because it's a spiritual community of people, an educational community of people who've come from all over the world to live together and pioneer. It's an eco village.
Uh-huh.
And it was set up maybe, I don't know how, 60 years ago or 70 years ago by some spiritual teachers um, who arrived, and they built this village out of nothing, and people came from all over the world. It's a very interesting place, and a lot of spiritual seekers from all over the world have been here or through here
Hmm.
or whatever. I don't live in it. I live in my own land. I live in a little village which is the capital of the Northern Picts, and it's a very rough, and it's a beautiful village, but it's full of fishing boats, and the way that people would have lived. You
Yeah.
know, I'm totally into bridging New Age and our ancients.
Yes.
So that's why I live poised between the two. And as I was singing there last night, and I was singing about, I always like to introduce the spirit of our land to the
Hmm.
people who have adopted this land to live in.
Yes.
And some of them are English, some of them are all over the world, really. The room was a room full of very eclectic group of people. All world, some of them world servers, some of them who had written books that you might have known, you know. I
Mm.
mean, the people that came through here as teachers are people like Neil Donald Walsh and Stanislav Grof and kind of people like that, you know.
Yes.
Anyway, so I was singing this song, and it was a song, a local song, and it was a story of a young man who was uh, he was born illegitimate child of a tacksman who was a sort of lower nobility, Scottish nobility, and a beautiful traveling woman.
Hmm.
And they produced this child, and they produced it in, it was a drunken wedding, and they got together and produced this child, and the child was taken. His name was James Macpherson, and he was taken to his father's place to be brought up, and he was brought up in amongst the lower Scots nobility. And then his father died, and his mother came and took him, and she took him back to the Tinkers' encampments,
Yeah.
and he learnt to play the fiddle. He was a fiddler,
Mm.
and this young man died at 25 years old.
Mm.
And before he died, the night before he died, he was hanged. The night before he died, he wrote a tune,
Mm.
and he played it on the fiddle. And this is true.
Yeah.
He played it on the fiddle. And the reason that he was condemned to death was that you can imagine this young person going home from riches to rags. So he did what was called a bit of social redistribution, a bit like Robin Hood.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he would go around the villages here, kind of taking a few cattle and giving them to the other people, giving people
Yes.
who didn't have cattle. And he was they didn't people weren't best pleased about this, people that had the
Yes.
cattle.
I can imagine.
And he had a band of people. He was a very good fiddler, and he was a great swordsman,
Mm.
and he was well known. So they were looking for him, and they found him, and they hunted him down. And they were hunted him down because a woman who was sitting in a house in a place called Keith. He was up an alleyway with his friends, with his band of pilgrims, and she knew that they were trying to hunt him down, so she threw a blanket over him, and he couldn't use his sword then. So
Yeah.
they captured him. They
Uh,
took him to the toll booth, which is the place that they put criminals, and they sentenced him to death. And on his charge sheet was a charge which was that he was an Egyptian.
mm.
Now, Egyptians were banned. You couldn't be an Egyptian and do Egyptian things. And it looks like that was the early genesis of the word gypsy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So on his charge sheet, he was an Egyptian, and that was why he was being hanged. Because he was doing Egyptian-y things, as far as I could discern. Anyway, they took him. He had written his tune, and they took him to the gibbet. And his mother, in the meantime, she must have been some woman.
Yeah.
She gets herself to another town where she meets the magistrates, and she gets a reprieve for him. And they're bringing the reprieve to the place to deliver the reprieve, and the people that are hanging him discover this, so they turn the village clock
Uh,
a quarter before, and he gets hanged.
mm,
And he writes, Burns, then, Robert Burns, 80 years later, this is still in the public psyche, Robert Burns writes words to his tune,
yeah. Huh.
right? Then, in 40 years after that, which is 1820, the villagers who are in this is a village that has a bridge between it, and there's Banff on one side of the bridge, and there's Macduff on the other side of the bridge. The Macduff people, they've built a church called Doon Church. And on Doon Church, there is a clock face. There are three clock faces. And on the fourth clock face, overlooking Banff, there's no clock.
Mm,
Out of respect for this man who died 120 years ago.
yeah.
And what is it about that that's so interesting? It's a fantastic song, and I sing it. I've been singing it since I was 10. But it's a ranting song, and
Mm,
he's saying, "Bye bye dungeons, I'm out of here. I'm on the gallows tree now, and I'm ranting about this." And he played a tune and he danced it below the gallows tree, and he says to the assembled company, "Untie these bands from off of my hands and give to me my sword. There's not a man in all Scotland that I couldn't brave at his word. Um, there's some come here to see me hanged, and some to take my fiddle. But before that I do part with her, I'll break it through the middle." Um, say rantingly, say dauntingly, say rantingly, say wantonly. So dauntingly went he. He played a tune and he danced it around below the gallows tree. He took the fiddle into both of his hands and he broke it over a stone, saying, "There's no other hands that will play on you when I'm dead and gone." The reprieve was, oh, little did my mother think when first she cradled me that I would turn a roving boy and die in the gallows tree. The reprieve was coming over the bridge of Banff. I'm translating it into English,
yeah.
it's in Scottish, to set him free. But they put the clock a quarter before and they hanged him on the tree. And then, and that's the story. And what does that mean? Why has this story and why has this energy lasted all this time? And why am I singing it in 2024 in a Burns night? What's the inside guts of this? Well, if you ask anybody about this song, I would ask my mother,
Yeah.
for example, and she would say, I would say to her, "But why is that song still happening?"
Mm-hmm.
And she would say, because that's Nadine. In other
Nick.
words, that's not done. We don't do things like that.
Ah.
Culturally, we don't do them. That's an outrage, and it needs to be flagged up as an outrage, and it
Mm,
and it's sung about hundreds of years later. It's not how you live. It's not what you do.
yes.
It's Nadine. We call that. It's Nadine. You don't do that. You don't do that. It's
Yeah.
just not done. And that's the beauty of some of this wisdom, because it teaches you how to
Yeah.
behave.
Yes.
You see and it's still in the psyche. That song still in the
And it
psyche
comes
now.
and it circles back around, right? Like
Yes,
yes, yes.
and that's
As
what I was
the
doing
ancestors
last
often
night.
do.
Yes, absolutely, as they often do, exactly. And last night as I finished the song, um, I love teaching when I'm singing, so I'll tell them the story and then I'll sing it.
Yes.
I put that on my YouTube channel, but because I like people to feel my way into the songs is just my way, but it's just how can I be instructive with this? And a woman came up to me afterwards and she was in tears and she just looked at me and she kept looking at me and I just hugged her and I don't know why she was obviously so moved by that song. And then she said, "I saw it all."
Mm, mm. Yeah.
Yeah, because she had perception that could hold that. And
Yeah.
the beauty for me was that I could be in alignment enough to bring it through.
Yes.
The ancestors could
To
speak through
channel it
me.
through you. Get out of the way. I always say, show up
Get
and get
out
out
of
of the
the
way.
way. Get out of the
Yeah.
way. But then it's moments like that when I know that the path that I'm on the path.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can stand out of the way. And when I'm doing the keening, I do stand out of the way. And now it's not difficult as it was to stand out of the way
Yeah.
because my own mind games don't get in the way now.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's a testament to any of the inner work I've ever done.
Yeah.
And I'm still at it.
Yes.
I'm still at it. And I never stop. But I couldn't have done that 10 years ago, even.
Yeah. I get that. I feel that way about the work. Like as I'm, it's kind of like that practice of showing up. It makes the connection. It starts like I said recently, I feel like I keep getting better at getting out of the
Yes.
way, right? Like I keep
Yes.
getting better at
Just a
showing up,
delicate side.
being open and
Exactly.
listening, right? For what the moment already wants to be.
Exactly. The thing for me has been, though, that in my own life, I know when I'm speeding up.
Yeah.
And when you speed up, you really have to be still and anchor.
Yes.
Because if you speed up and you don't attend to that process of grounding, you end up, your energy gets dispersed and you end up you can move into psychosis.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I've been in that place too. So having been there, I understand when I'm to work with the guides to be still
Yes.
and ground.
Yes. And learning how it is that you uniquely hear spirit or how it communicates because it's different for each of us. I'm very
It's just,
audio
yeah,
and it's so interesting. I'll tell like my coaching clients, oftentimes they'll see me, I'll close my eyes because in some ways sometimes like I can't be looking and hear at the same time, you
yes.
know. So learning like what is your way?
What is your way? Well, for me, the way is generally at 3 o'clock in the morning they come.
Yeah. Yep. That's me too. Three.
And
I like
I
that
have to
time.
sit up, shut up, listen and write down
I
and
call it the
stop
witching
thinking about.
hour.
Yeah, it is the witching hour. And then it comes, and then I can go to sleep again.
Yes. Yep.
And I
Yes.
know if it happens around about that time and it sounds like sensible to me, then it's good stuff.
Yes. Yes.
And I should act on it or wait to see how it emerges, what
Yeah.
emerges, but hold that until the connections, the external connections, the current life connections come in and join it,
Yes.
you know? Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
What is something that you are like the most proud of?
Oh, the most proud. Oh, well, I'm bursting with pride about my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful godson.
Yes.
I didn't expect any of this. I couldn't have wished for more, but he's going to co-work with me now.
Yes.
And I met him. Yeah, I can hardly believe it's all happened. But he was an abandoned street child, paralyzed and dying. And he was in an orphanage. And I sat down in his bed, and something said, "You can't walk past this."
Yeah.
And because he couldn't get treatment, because he didn't have nobody had the resources to treat the difficulty of his injuries. They were awful. And I went away thinking, nothing to do with me. I can't, oh, nothing to do with me. And I had 4 nights of furious argument with God, whatever was
I've
going
been
on.
there.
Fuck off, I'm not doing this. I'm not. I came here to think, come on, why do you send me down all these bloody sewers? You look, I want to go and I want to go to the tops of mountains and commune with, gurus and people, and you're not sending me there.
I love that because so much of spirit we sell as the like meditating on the top of the mountains, and that's not my experience.
It's Dynarod. We've got a company that called it's the sewers. Get in there and bloody start digging. Stop this
Yeah.
nonsense. Is what I always got. Anyway, that was the first chapter. I've grown with this young human, and he's now 23. And it's been an enormous journey. Enormous. It's been the biggest journey in my life by a million. I had to stop my life for a whole year and foster
Yeah.
him. Yeah, apart from everything else, it was just a nightmare. I was tearing my hair out. I was bruised continually because he was feral.
Yes.
He was feral.
Yes.
And I had to try and get him an operation on his back. I had to move freaking mountains. I had to go and beg the Scots government to do something. So many lives got involved in this. It was just, I was on it, but I was knackered all the time and I was a mess. Anyway, we got through it.
Yes.
And so now, what am I doing? 2 days ago, I took him to something that I was doing, which was this charity Growing Together. And there were some kids there who were showing us their project. And the project, would you believe, this is a young person in a wheelchair. This is my godson with very severe spinal injuries. and he sat there while these kids talked about, well, we for our project we went to school and we thought there's no right, these kids are not, these kids, it's not, and these kids that we'd been working with were passionate. They had to do a community project, and this was their community project. They'd gone to a school. They found that the school had a playground. Some of the kids couldn't access the play equipment because it was old and fallen to bits, and not only that, but there was no sand pit for some kids because they couldn't get out their chairs.
Yeah.
And my lovely godson's watching all of this and he's looking at me, and I wonder if he's going to speak because he's the only disabled person in the room.
Yeah.
He doesn't speak because he's not quite ready to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, after these kids have finished, some people are in tears listening to them. They were so passionate. They'd raised all this money. They'd gone, everybody, they'd gone all the local businesses. They sorted themselves out. They blah, 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 blah. And we did this and it's like this. And the headmaster of the school is like, oh my goodness, how lovely is this? And the whole room was just, the presentation of it wasn't that good because we hadn't got our act together to do it as well as it could be done. And I could see that. So that's a way that we can tweak. But generally speaking, people were really, the kids came out knowing they'd done a good job and
Yeah.
they're going to carry it on. And the most proud thing for me was when my godson called me. He drove all the way home. He had to get home before the storm, and he lives in Glasgow, and it's like 3.5 hours from where I live. And
Mm-hmm.
he decided to drive home that night because we couldn't. The storm Iwan was coming, and we were all going to get blown to bits. And we got him home, and he rang me, and 1 o'clock in the morning, and he said, I'm home, because he always does tell me he's
Yeah.
home safe. And I'm home, right, okay, great. He said, Madge, what do I have to do to get stuck into this?
Yes. He's all in.
That's my proudest moment,
Yes.
isn't it? I am beside myself. And not only that, but some of the other trustees are saying to me, Madge, we should get him on board.
Yeah.
Why isn't he coming in this? And they're saying to him, you're going to come on board.
Yeah.
They're saying, not me.
Yes.
They're
Yep.
saying it. Other people who I really respect can see the beauty in this human and can see the huge contribution he's going to make and are saying, let's snap him up, let's get him involved. But he's already got there.
Yes.
He's already
Yes.
got there.
Yes.
What have I got to do? And so now I spent the whole day this morning arranging what he's going to do.
Yeah.
He's coming up. I'm going to get him a place to stay. He's going to start the facilitator training. Blah, 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 blah. But that's my boy.
Yes. Yes.
I don't have children. I wasn't given that gift.
Well, you didn't birth children, but you have
I didn't have
yes.
lots of them. I didn't birth them. I
Yes.
lost babies in the womb. But
Yeah.
I couldn't be prouder. I couldn't. My
Yeah.
boy. And he's going to make a document, not, he's going to make a big feature film
Yes.
because I had the presence of mind at the time to call a friend of mine who was wanting to come and film me with song masters up the top of the mountains. And to be honest, I've made documentaries before about my life, and I've had, I didn't want to have, I didn't want them, I didn't want it. So I
Yes.
told it to go away. And then after I met him, I thought, shit, oh my
Yeah.
God, I need
Good
something
story.
here. Oh my God. So I rang her
Good
up and I said,
story.
listen, I don't want to make, you want to make, I'm sorry I said no to you about this other film, but you want to document this because I'm going to freaking do some social change with this if I
Yeah.
possibly can. I've no idea what I'm doing, but as far as I'm concerned, you can follow me.
Mm,
So she came across to the country.
yeah.
And as we were flying across, I had to come back and get bandages and a mattress because he got no, he had huge pressure sores right through to
Yeah.
his bones. To come back, came back, got the mattress, got my stepson's blooming maternity mattress that his wife had just finished with, given birth on, put that in a bag and got some bandages because he'd got none. And off I went, and she said, I'll come with you. We got on a plane
Ah,
to go to the country, right? And as I'm leaving Turkey to get into Tbilisi, there's a whole lot of people with cameras. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? And I say to the guy next to me, could you tell me, please, do you know anything about what's going on? There's an awful lot of cameras here. He said, yeah. He said, he said, I'm the head of military police in Georgia. He said, I'm coming back from my holidays from Turkey. He said, Putin's invaded. I said, what?
mm.
Putin's invaded. Oh my God, we're going into a war. This is
Yeah.
no good. But
No.
anyway, we were on the plane, so there was no choice. And
Yes.
that was a whole nother journey. We got that was a whole nother journey. So it involved war, our little escapades with him.
Yes.
And oh, that was really hard, but we got through that. And yeah, I look back on my life, and if he hadn't come into it, it would have been a very different life. Very different life. I
Yeah.
don't know what I would have done with the last 20 years of my life if he wasn't in it,
Yes.
because it was spent helping him, facilitating his growth and growing with him.
Yes. Yes.
And we did the most amazing things. We headlined at the Edinburgh Spirituality Festival because I
Mm,
got a whole school involved, and they got rabid about it. And we're going to learn this. We're going to, and they got these little kids in this school, this really awful, the worst school in Scotland it was. I got
mhm.
them involved, and it came up from being the worst school in Scotland with the most, this was a primary school, a school in a really tough area where where the teacher's first job in the morning on a Monday was to sweep up the glass because it had been
Mm,
vandalized. And and they got a new headmaster, and this guy was inspired, and he said,
yeah.
I'll work with you. I said, well, I'm not bringing a sick child here to get his back fixed. I'm bringing an ambassador for his country. Do you understand? He
Yeah.
said, I get that completely. We'll do ambassadorial duties then, will we? I said, we will. And
Yeah.
I said, I'm getting the ambassadors involved, the real ambassadors involved as well. So I went and spoke to the British ambassador and the Georgian
Yeah.
ambassador. I said, can you get on board with this, please? And they thought it was great. So they got on board as well. So
Yeah.
we had, so now my boy can do ambassadorial duties because he's learned from real ambassadors.
Yes.
And he's going to be going in and doing ambassadorial work so we can get funding support from all sorts of places. We weren't going to get it unless he was involved. And that I can see all of it.
Yes. Yes.
It's not happened yet, but I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I just feel it. I can feel it. I can see it. I get to see future events. I get to envision them and they happen
Yes.
over and over again. You get that?
Yes. Because the universe wants to prove us right.
Yes.
Yes.
It really
It
does.
does.
Totally does.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's what it
Yeah.
really wants to prove us right.
Mm.
Oh God, I'm going to stop
So,
chattering now. If you
so
have any more questions.
well, I will just ask one last thing for you. Like, is
Mhm.
there one last message you want to, anything you want to speak that you hadn't had the opportunity to say, or kind of like closing words from you?
Yeah. I think that we're all wounded warriors in the battlefield of life. And that when we can engage our highest, then that's the process of evolution, really.
Yeah.
But we can't do that unless we're willing to get on the battlefield.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. And I will get all your contact information so I can share with people, including how they can support this new project or your project.
oh,
So let's get that stuff information.
anybody with Scots roots
Yes.
who has any resources, who wants to support this, can come here. I'll take them to watch this happen.
Yes.
They can support our young people, because a lot of people in your country were had ancestors who were here once,
Yeah, we
like
talked
you
about,
did.
yeah. Yes.
So these ancestors want sourcing and resourcing, because the pain and suffering of leaving a land and a landscape that
Yeah.
was yours and being thrown out of it, which was often what happened. The
Yes.
pain and suffering of that often is still lodged in the intergenerational trauma pathways.
Yes.
So I'm keen to get people who have connection to Scotland, who feel, when they feel a belonging here, because I'm surrounded by people that come here and say, I never knew I could belong anywhere until I came here.
Yes.
This is my belonging place, because their ancestors left it and they've got it in their makeup. They've got it in intergenerational makeup. And those are the people that I want to come and fuel these flames here, to get the spirit of the kids feeding the future. Do you
Yes.
see? And that's what I want to. So that's what I want to put out. Really, is anybody who can resource us, can fund a project. I'll come and do it with the. Come and watch the kids. Come and meet them.
Yes.
Come and satisfy that ancestral longing, and
Yeah.
see that you're actually transforming something. That's what I want to say to people. If you've got any people that are in that category.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bless you, darling. Well, it's lovely to talk. We should talk again, and I'll send you those books.